Orlando, confirm that you are host now?
It said I'm host now.
Perfect.
Okay,
You're good to
Very
go.
good.
Okay. You're
Thank you.
all set, Commissioner Riles, and I'm going to leave now.
All right, thank you very
So
much.
Oh, one
Uh,
thing before you begin, Orlando, please do not stop the recording.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Welcome.
Okay, I want to welcome those of you who are here, and unfortunately, this is not only a city holiday, but a state and federal holiday. I particularly appreciate uh, uh, Sergeant Mangai and Lieutenant Toribio for being here. I hope you get compensation for the time you put in with us today on a holiday. Want to welcome all of the public who are able to join us here or through the recording. I don't know how many others will be joining us, or whether some of the other panelists who are usually part of the community policing ad hoc will be able to join us today. But as you all know, besides our meeting today on the 19th of June, our next meeting is July the 3rd, which is the day before holiday. So we won't be meeting then, but we plan to meet in July on the 17th. And then we're lucky that month we'll also have July the 31st in order to meet. I hope that as the new chairperson of the community policing ad hoc, I can do as good a job as Jesse Shea, who was the former chairperson who did such an excellent job. And I'll do my best in order to do that. So what I thought we would do today, and maybe we can have a fairly quick meeting, was to talk a little bit about old business and then some thoughts about new business that has been assigned to the community policing ad hoc. Lieutenant Toribio, I know you had a report from some of the prior discussion that I was not a part of about the new rules and agreements in terms of the community policing resource officers and the neighborhood councils that were to come to the commission to resolve some differences. In what I saw from you, it did not delineate what those differences are. I don't know if I didn't read it carefully enough, or whether there was some way that maybe we can add those differences and I can then bring that before the commission to resolve those differences.
Yeah, I think that, do you have the last documents that Commissioner Shea had sent out? Essentially what he did was kind of historical context of this. I think it was 2019 when meetings started to happen. I don't recall when the commission had approved a policy for community policing. It was then reviewed by the executive team at OPD, and there were some issues as certain things about the approved policy conflicted with either existing policy or points in our memorandum of understanding. So stemming from that, the commission reconvened. We went over the general order again and came to a consensus on quite a bit of it, but reached an impasse on certain points. And then those points Commissioner Shea had kind of delineated and said, hey, this is the original language from the policy. This is what the police department believes the verbiage should be. This is the verbiage from the other members of the ad hoc that they believe it should be. And so that is kind of where we were left.
See, I don't remember seeing that. It would be possible for you to, I don't know if you have a copy that you could forward to me.
I
And then
do. Unfortunately, I'm not anywhere near a
Sure.
computer where I'll be able to do it. I'm really sorry.
Yeah,
But,
no, you can.
as soon as I land, yeah, I will get that sent to you, Commissioner. And then it should be fairly straightforward in terms of the language that we couldn't agree upon in the policy.
Excellent, excellent. So I think we do need to finish that old business before we go to new business. The new business is, as you may know, the city council has asked the commission to review the pursuit policy. Councilmember Jenkins and Reed brought this before the council. The council voted to send it to the commission to review. It was not entirely clear whether or not there was any expectation from the council that there would be any wish to change the pursuit policy, but we were being asked to review it. My expectation is that there were a number of retail merchants who were concerned about robberies that had taken place, and then cars that were of perpetrators that were not pursued. So it got to be, I think, a fairly hot topic, and so the hot potato was thrown to the community policing ad hoc to deal with. I'm thinking that one way, and I'm asking for your input in this. I'm thinking about having a forum, possibly in the community, on July the 17th, where and hopefully in either Councilmember Jenkins or Reed's district, that we could invite the Merchants Association and residents in the community to, where the department might lay out its thinking and the actual details of the policy and how the department came to those discussions. I did understand from Commissioner Jackson that Captain Bassett was the expert in this area. Is that correct?
Sir, unfortunately, I can't speak to the accuracy of that statement. I know that Captain Bassett, he does chair our pursuit boards. So I could see how that would lead to him being considered the subject matter expert on this. I haven't been involved in the rewrite of the policy. One thing I would like to do, I understand the sentiment in the community policing ad hoc now being tasked with the new pursuit policy, especially since community safety is such a big component in what drives our pursuit policy. But I know I'm kind of jumping around a lot, but regarding your kind of forum, I don't see how that could possibly be a bad thing. I think that can only be a good thing. But I would need to research and I get the appropriate people to give input on that. I also think that moving beyond the community policing general order into a review of the pursuit policy, that we, and by we I mean the department, would reassess who would be part of the ad hoc representative of that. Sergeant Manguy, he's back in patrol, that he was one of the most experienced community resource sergeants that we had, and having him for this ad hoc makes complete sense. I would also like to loop in the current commanders for the community resource officers, and then for the pursuit policy review, I would like to loop in or reevaluate the department's presence in the ad hoc, the exec members. So a couple things. I will confirm who is our subject matter expert for, or who would be part of the department representation for the forum, and then I'll also get a list for the folks to actually represent the department in the ad hoc for that pursuit
Okay,
component.
I appreciate that very much. And you think that's possible to be prepared to give a presentation on July the 17th, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, I not being that guy, I'm hesitant to give the thumbs up. I don't believe it'll be a problem, but I will confirm this week, if not this week, early next week, on who the personnel or persons will be, and then get that confirmation for the July 17th forum.
All right, thank you very much. I was also thinking that we might do a comparison between Oakland's pursuit policy and those in other communities. And maybe even though the Inspector General's office is losing its top person, they might be able to also, maybe on July the 31st, be able to give us some presentation on a comparison between Oakland and other communities. I know it's always very problematic to make comparisons on such issues between cities, considering the differences in streets and traffic and all kinds of issues that may make it difficult to make a clear comparison. But my thought was to ask the IG's office to prepare a presentation to make a comparison. And then if you could also Lieutenant Toribio, for a meeting in August, see where the department is on evaluating other technical mechanisms. I understand there's a GPS that you can expend to stick to an automobile to be able to follow it. There are a number of, I think, merchants that are interested in putting cameras on major thoroughfares that are networked so that you can follow a car as it passes those cameras. And there's some interest also in some of the members of the neighborhood councils to network cameras in order to follow those cars so that you don't actually have the vehicle pursuit, but you have something else going on. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, we had explored starting in 2020, maybe 2019, a GPS tracking system. The technology was proprietary to a company called StarChase. We went into contract with them. We developed a policy for deployment and found that the technology just did not work. It was not suitable to us. Over the course of the last 2 years, we had one successful deployment, if I recall. And then what ended up happening there is, before we can even start tracking it, the vehicle, because after the GPS tracker was fired from the front of a vehicle and then affixed to the target vehicle, officers obviously did not pursue. Helicopter was still up in the air. The car got on the freeway, took the next exit, and then a person from the car got out and pulled the technology off. So we put down the technology just recently, to use kind of like the phrase, the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. You know, we simply weren't able to get practical results. There were also, you know, it wasn't as flexible as we had hoped. We couldn't leave the technology kind of running in the car. It has a heating up phase, and so you know, we had to heat it up, and if you left it heating up for too long, it would kind of melt the system. So it wasn't something we could always have readily available. It had to be something that was very planned. And what we were finding was, as soon as presence was aware, the police vehicle was there, then the subject vehicles would take off. So over the last, you know, couple years, we only had one successful deployment, and we stopped. For other technology, if I'm not mistaken, that was a proprietary technology. There was only one company that was doing that sort of thing. Regarding cameras placed in the streets that can then be used to track, excuse me, I think that in sentiment, I like the idea. I know that there are hurdles with not hurdles, but additional discussions that need to take place with the Privacy Commission and whatnot regarding the approval of such things. And I don't have the experience to know how talks or what the sentiment on that is with the Privacy Commission or the community at large regarding the installation of those cameras. But I do think it's worth exploring.
Right. So I think then maybe on the 17th, we ought to be clear and also inform the community that the department has been looking at these other alternatives and those that we have found to be effective and those that we have not. So it's not like that the department is just sitting around accepting the situation for the way that it is. We may not need another session on this. In our August meeting, the council is expecting a report from the commission in early September. So we have time to clearly inform the council and the community about what the department has been doing. I appreciate that very much, Lieutenant Toribio. So those are the two things that I had. If I just might say that there's some other new issues that in future meetings of the community policing ad hoc we might discuss, and then we can in this meeting. One is the new Measure Z replacement. As you know, the way that it's drafted, the signatures are being gathered now. I don't know if they've all qualified yet to actually be on the ballot, but the new draft changes, as I understand it, where the funds go within the police department, rather than having those funds being focused on the community service officers. It gets more widely distributed within the department. I think we probably need to discuss what impacts that might be with the community policing program. And the other new issue I would want to also discuss is the expansion of the neighborhood councils. I know that City Administrator's Office has had some grant funds to expand some of that work in some of the more impacted communities in East Oakland. I don't know where that's at this point, and that might also have an impact on the number of community resource officers we need. Do you know whether or not the budget that's being discussed by the council at this point reduces the community resource officer program at all?
I do not know, sir. Sergeant Manga, have you heard anything by chance? I don't know if word kind of gets to our level where that's at, but having been in the unit recently, I don't know if maybe you've heard something along those lines.
The manga here, I have not. I think the best resource would be our Captain Alan Yu would have that information.
Okay. I don't know if you have some particular issues, either Sergeant Mangai or Lieutenant Toribio, about issues that the community policing ad hoc might take up in the next few months.
No, I do think that if the ad hoc is to convene on the community policing policy, maybe given, having it had some time to breathe, and different folks in the ad hoc again, and I would like to loop in for the next meeting some different folks from the department who are actively working in the unit, versus our previous kind of expert, Sergeant Mangai, who's no longer in the unit, but has the institutional knowledge of it. Maybe we have kind of a different perspective, and we can come to a consensus on the language, and move past the impasse that we kind of reached at the last committee. I do think that if the ad hoc evolves and begins to take on different topics, I think it is a good chance to also maybe reset and evaluate the members of the ad hoc to best represent the community as well as the department. And I'm happy to help with any of that facilitation.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, I think that's all that that we probably need to talk about at this point. And so I will work on trying to get a forum together for July the 17th, and we will be in touch with one another, and also be looking for that report from Jesse Shea's work that I can bring before the commission. I thank you all for spending a little time on your holiday here in the meeting.
Thank you, sir. I'll get that report sent to you.
All right, I think you can close the recording, Orlando.
Okay, stop it.
Thank you again. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye
Have a
bye.
good night. Thank you.
Can you stop the recording now, Wilson?
Yeah.